I was just angry at the situation, and because I was feeling alone, I further sort of like isolated myself.
I didn't know this then, but I was lonely. The World Health Organization has declared loneliness and social isolation to be a pressing global health threat. And a recent survey in Singapore found that young adults like me are more likely to be lonely compared to other age groups. We all get lonely from time to time, but when does it really become a problem?
Audio rolling. Hello. Julia. Is this all your first time here?
It's my first time.
It's your me too.
I've been a journalist for years. Networking is part of my job, but doing it in a personal capacity is not easy for me. Everyone at this social mixer, organized by the company Offline, is between the ages of 25 and 35. We have been vetted pre-arrival in what organizers call a vibe check call.
Okay guys, so I'm the game master for today. I know some of you have already gone through this game before, but I think it's really fun if you come up with a new story.
The criteria: the ability to hold conversation and an eagerness to make new friends.
Does she look like this thing when she
There has been a spurt of companies around the globe capitalizing on the formation of adult friendships. Over the last 2 years, over 700 people have come for Offline's events.
Why do you decide to come for Offline today?
For me, I hope to connect with people on a more personal basis.
Do you feel like you've connected with someone on a deeper level today?
The starting point, hopefully, can just chat and see how we can become friends.
There are few people that are quite fun, the vibes are quite fun, I will want to know them better.
It's like we are open to like, a lot of people here, then it's easier for us to just like throw out the question like, oh, anybody came for like South Africa trip, can just easily gather numbers. I think there are 2 offline people going from last.
Wait, so you've already decided on an African trip with the people you met at Offline the last time? If I can take leave.
Yeah, take leave.
Social mixers can help you build new connections, but from everything I've been reading, it's really just the beginning. Because loneliness is really about whether you feel your needs are being met by the people around you. If this is the connection I have with a friend, and that is the connection I want, the gap in between, it's where loneliness sits. This means you can be surrounded by people and still feel alone. Researchers believe that being lonely can be as bad for your health as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day or drinking more than 6 alcoholic drinks a day. How is it that an emotion can potentially kill me? Author Simone Heng has spent years being lonely. She has now made it her life's work to educate the public about this emotion.
How is it that the health risks associated with loneliness are so great?
What we have to understand is that loneliness is linked to how we evolved as early human beings in tribes. So there was safety in numbers. If for any reason we were ejected from the tribe, we would be hit with a fight or flight response. And this fight or flight response sends stress hormones through the body. Anytime you have prolonged stress hormones in the body, they're breaking the body down. So for example, Cardiovascular disease is the #1 disease linked to loneliness. So that makes sense, right? You're in fight or flight, your heart is going all the time.
So, what are those signs of loneliness that I should be watching out for?
One of the first things that might happen is less than good quality sleep. Something called micro awakenings. We know if you are having these awakenings in your sleep, it could be a sign. Also linked to us when we lived in tribes. So for example, when we slept at night, the other people in our tribe
Will watch out for
you. And if you were cast out of that tribe for some reason, you would have to rouse many times in the evening to make sure a saber-toothed tiger wasn't about to eat you, or you weren't about to fall out of the tree you were sleeping in. Now imagine, even though we're living in this highly connected modern place, this wiring for us to connect still exists. So when we perceive we're lonely, we still get those stress hormones. And people who are chronically lonely, not just incidentally, they have these hormones running through them all the time, constantly, destroying their immunity and therefore reducing their lifespan.
When you say micro awakenings, am I aware that I'm waking up?
It's more like that kind of restless sleep that isn't that deep sleep.
What are other signs that we should watch out for?
So one of the big ones is actually oversharing. Lonely people feel under threat because I don't know the next time I'm going to see people or be with a person that I like, so I'm going to tell them my whole life story. If you start by vulnerability bombing a new person, it actually causes the person to recoil. Their brain says, I cannot trust her with any of my secrets because she can't even keep hold of any of her own. They run away. So the exact connection a lonely person craves is lost.
This self-perpetuating cycle.
The lonely brain makes you dumber as well, so you're not as cognitively rational.
It's confusing and complex. Could I be lonely and not know it?
Absolutely. So a recent study just came out that 1 in 5 people around the world, worldwide stat, feel lonely a lot. So there's you and me today and 3 more people in the crew. That means if the likelihood is 1 out of the 5 of us in this room right now are lonely.
We are taught to recognize hunger and thirst cues. Your stomach is growling, time to eat. Your throat is parched, drink some water. But loneliness doesn't manifest in such clear-cut ways and can vary for everyone. It's tricky for researchers to study the phenomenon of loneliness because it's not just about being by yourself. But I found a scenario that some neuroscientists use to simulate unmet social needs, or in layman terms, loneliness. In an ambitious take, I'm going beyond the study's 10 hours to do 48 hours. I will disconnect from everyone online and offline.
Nah.
Thank you.
Take care of my phone.
I will. And
My whole life is in there.
and I have something for you to tell the time.
Thanks,
Welcome.
guys.
Okay, bye-bye. Good luck.
Disconnecting socially includes not reading or watching fiction, because researchers believe these activities can pass for social contact in our brains.
It's 8:30 in the morning. I slept so well last night. So yesterday I managed to paint. I made progress on my book. That was a really good work day.
My meals are delivered at a set time and left outside for me to collect, so no human contact. "24 hours in, time feels like it's crawling. Also, why is it so cold?
I can't seem to focus on whatever it is. So I read the same page of my book 3 times before registering, just a part of it even. My assistant producer Rianne sent over a lovely dinner. I, for once, actually don't really have an appetite. I can't wait for this to end. So I'm almost packed, so ready to go.
In the short 48 hours of isolation, I felt, among other things, coldness in my extremities, a sort of lethargy, yet restlessness, and an inability to focus. Why did I feel this way? Dr. Lim Boon Leng specializes in mood disorders in young adults.
So Dr. Lim, I've just come out of an environment meant to simulate loneliness. And during that period of time, I felt physically cold, an inability to concentrate, restless. Towards the end, I actually also didn't really have much of an appetite.
This can be physical manifestation of loneliness. I think loneliness do stress us out. Cortisol is released, and this also induces adrenaline in our body. And we start to get vasoconstriction at the extremities, and on our skin. And this causes us to feel cold. The secretion of all these hormones. They activate the sympathetic nervous system, which then controls much of our unconscious process, like our breathing, our digestion, our heart rate, and of course our vessels as well.
How is it possible that I could feel so many things in such a short period of time?
The HPA axis, right, and adrenal gland do react fairly quickly. If you're not used to it, even the sense of loneliness can be deemed to be dangerous, and immediately there's that sensation of wanting to run away.
Do we actually know for a fact that, yes, okay, all these things happen when we're lonely?
There's a lot of mystery that has not been unearthed, but the scientific literature do point to it. So when you're lonely, longer term, sometimes there can be permanent physical changes in the size of your hypothalamus or even in the activity of your prefrontal cortex. All these parts of the brain, they are involved in emotions and also associated with pain. And if we have certain altered changes, neuroanatomical changes, it could lead to perhaps things like depression, chronic anxieties.
How long will it take for something like that to happen?
To extrapolate through studies of depression, for example, because we know loneliness is associated with depression, I think at least 3 to 5 years.
What would you suggest for young people to do?
Young folks, the best form of social support would still be coming from their peers. It could be their classmates, it could be their fellow workers. If we do notice that even within a group, you are seeing that your friends or your peers appears to be rather quiet, they're not really joining the conversation or they don't seem to be there, I think it's always important to check in, right?
Unlike physical ailments, it's hard to spot if someone is lonely. So the next best thing is to check in on the people around us. At the start of this year, a simple question posed by Sesame Street's Elmo on Twitter went viral and sparked a wider conversation on mental health in the United States.
One thing I've noticed, people thanking Elmo for checking in. So my grand plan is for Elmo to get the ball rolling here in Singapore and hopefully inspire us to check in on each other.
So I got Elmo to record this video.
Hello, Singapore! Elmo's just checking in. How's everybody doing?
If I'm truly honest about how I feel...
Not great, Elmo. Not great.
I'm so busy that sometimes I forget about those people around me.
And it's so difficult to really spend time with friends.
Anyway, it's really, really nice to be checked in on.
When was the last time you checked
I also got people to submit their stories anonymously. I'm going to practice what I preach.
Hey, hi!
I brought cake!
Oh.
Afifa and I became friends almost 10 years ago when we started at CNA's Singapore News Desk.
This is a formal check-in, basically just to see how you've been doing.
It's nice to have a formal check-in, I guess, once in a while.
What about informal check-in? Because you're not based here.
I think I remember GE time in Malaysia. The night before, I remember I was calling you and I was like, oh my god, a million things are like not going according to plan. And like it was just nice to just be able to rant, and that sort of helped me feel better and like less stressed about stuff. I found out too, right, about how hard a time you were going through when I was just texting you randomly.
For this episode, I have been thinking about how important check-ins can be. I think it really, really helped me, especially a couple of years back. During COVID, my partner got really sick. Nobody knew what was happening. It was a very stressful situation where I was the sole decision maker as the legal spouse, right? We were physically isolated, no one could go to the hospitals. And then when they finally allowed like one person in, it was me. And not everyone agreed with the decisions I were making. My parents were asking me to move home, but I was just angry at the situation. And I think that transferred to them. Because I was feeling alone, I further sort of like isolated myself, right?
Was it relief or was it comfort that you felt whenever like someone checked in? Or was it even a nuisance?
I think I felt very grateful that you texted every day, even on days when I didn't respond. I think it's very hard for people to say that an experience is isolating or it makes you feel lonely, because then maybe the people around them will feel offended, right? Like they might feel like, so you're saying what? We're not there for you?
Yeah.
Looking back, it's clear that was an intensely lonely period in my life. And Afifa's random check-in made all the difference. I also asked you to share about the last time you felt lonely. Well, I got over 1,000 responses. About half are from young adults between 21 and 35 years old. "58% say they would consider themselves lonely. And when asked who they would turn to when they need to talk about something important, this was what about 15% said.
Nobody, nope, no one. I don't have anyone to turn to but myself. You can't really trust people. There is no one but myself. I don't feel I genuinely have anyone like this. No one truly understands 100%, not even my wife." Stories about the last time they felt lonely are wide-ranging, but if I had to group them, it'll be those who feel there is a mismatch in expectations, where one party values a friendship more than the other party, those who say they have always felt like an outsider, whether it's within their friend groups or in their families, and those who are worried about imposing on their friends in their very busy lives. I am clearly in over my head, so I've sent these responses over to psychologist Dr. Joel Yang to find out why so many people are feeling this way. What does it tell us about the state of loneliness in young people here?
I think it's startling, but not overly surprising.
What I really hope is that it doesn't get to them feeling hopeless as well. Feeling hopeless is when you're feeling lonely or stuck, and yet you don't believe that things are going to change or could ever change.
And there are a couple of comments that I feel might possibly fit into that range, right? It was Miss A, right?
Yeah, it was.
Where she said she's never connected with anybody. There are clear cases where I guess people seem to feel like they're in a hopeless situation. What would your advice be to them?
General advice here, it doesn't mean that you have to completely revolutionize your life, but it's maybe seeing it in a slightly different light, right? A lot of people in these comments are saying that they are surrounded by people, family, friends, colleagues, and so on. And it's recognizing that these people you know care about you, actually want to care.
So this would be entirely a perception thing.
It creates their reality. If they feel like people are not there for them, or if they feel like people wouldn't understand them, they're so much less likely to engage, right? I really hope that this conversation and people watching it is already the first step to making them feel like this can be something they speak about more openly.
There were also some comments where the people who said they had no one to turn to said they'll turn to the internet, so they'll go on forums or turn to their pets. What are your thoughts about that?
These are very valid avenues, whether it be pets, whether it be online friends. But I have to say, we connect through human emotions, through our language, which we use to communicate our views on the world of ourselves. I think it is through that human interaction that we create our own realities as well.
Because me interacting with you in real life shapes my sense of self.
Absolutely. We have mirror neurons in our brains that will mimic or empathize with the person who is with us. When it's online, whilst we still do mirror, it is to a lesser degree. So that kind of connection is still there, but the depth of it sometimes might be a bit lacking. So it always helps, all right, to check in.
What about if it were a stranger? So let's say if I were to go out and check in on people who might be feeling lonely, do you think they would respond to me?
Well, I think yes, there definitely is that element of being able to feel like you can be more yourself and talking to a stranger.
So the responses clearly show that young adults can use someone checking in on them, and Dr. Young's got me thinking about how I can make a difference. So I'm going to be that person checking in. Can you look lonely, Steve?
How do you look lonely? That's why.
Look lonely.
Do I look lonely?
I'm organising a check-in event for young adults here in Singapore. Hello! And I'm getting some help from my colleagues to join the crowd.
Should I pose a certain way?
You can. How would you like to be captured?
Like this for the next 5 minutes.
Paint me like one of your French names.
Yes, paint me like one of your French girls. Go ahead.
My proposition? Give me 5 minutes of your time and you get to take home a portrait of yourself. But while my sketch artist does her thing, you'll have to tell me about your experience with loneliness.
At 2 a.m.
Okay, I'm here at PLQ Mall getting my portrait done by the lovely Sharon. So come on and join us. We're here till 5 p.m. We're looking for young adults to share stories of loneliness.
Dina, could you maybe share with me the last time you felt lonely?
Actually, 2 weeks ago. So I'm a part-time working student. I'm always going to work, going to school, so I don't really like socialize a lot.
Back in my old job, I was struggling like every day, and there was this week in particular, nothing was going well. I just need to talk to someone, but there wasn't anyone around.
I feel COVID, I was in uni, that's when I was supposed to be making a lot of friends, going out, but my first 2 years of uni were online. Being an only child is also, I'm at home and I'm just alone.
About 3-4 months ago, I just went through a breakup.
Do you have coping mechanisms when you feel lonely?
I listen to music, I watch a show. I try talking to my friends, but then again, it's not like necessarily they'll reply me.
I go to the gym a lot. That really helps me, especially when I get extremely frustrated at work.
Do you get frustrated and then you feel lonely, or do you feel lonely then you get frustrated?
I get really frustrated and then the loneliness set in because then I feel like there's no one that I can talk to that really understands what I'm going through.
Across the world, people blame the loneliness epidemic on many areas. The COVID-19 pandemic, which has changed the way we work, smaller family sizes where we have fewer siblings and get married later, and social media.
I don't go and tell someone I'm lonely. I just go on TikTok to entertain myself. It does make me feel lonelier because like you see on TikTok and Instagram, like your friends, they are having brunch together, they are at parties, then you feel even worse.
Do you think it's difficult for people to admit that they're lonely?
I think yes. A lot of people like to lie to themselves. I'm speaking from personal experience.
It's very easy to just brush things off. I think a lot of people, they like to avoid, going deep talk.
It does take a lot of vulnerability to admit to feeling lonely because it's a bit of a dirty word, I feel, among my peers to say, hey, I was feeling lonely.
We're always trying to get more friends, trying to get people to like us. The word loneliness still does carry some connotation to it.
Thank you for this.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much.
Oh wow, it's so cute.
It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
British anthropologist Robin Dunbar has a theory of 5. An innermost circle of just 5 people you would consider loved ones, 15 good friends, 50 regular friends, 150 meaningful contacts, before it moves on to acquaintances and people you can recognize.
So people can move between the various groups, but the number of people in each group will stay the same because your brain can only keep up with a set number of people at any one point in time to maintain that level of friendship.
Where people fall within the groups is largely determined by the amount of time and emotions you invest in them. That innermost circle, that's people you are most comfortable being vulnerable with. No one looking at me or my socials would think I'm ever lonely. But most of my close friends, my innermost circle, have left Singapore and moved overseas. Video calls and frequent texts are just not the same. It's difficult for most young adults to recognize and acknowledge when they're feeling lonely. But not this 24-year-old who is an advocate of mindfulness.
You can give it a smell. It's a 2024 white peony. So there's very nice floral notes to it. The Chinese would say you drink it in 3 sips because ping cha has 3 mouths in the Chinese character. So the first sip is for you to acclimatize your mouth. Second sip is for you to taste the texture, and then the third one is for taste.
Right, okay.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
I found tea as a very great complementary kind of exercise to help me with my mindfulness practice.
What does that mean for you when it comes to identifying the various types of feelings you have, especially when it comes to loneliness?
Loneliness before mindfulness for me is something to be feared of. So I would just go out there and try to distract myself and not feel lonely.
What does loneliness feel like for you?
I feel this emptiness in the middle of my chest. I also feel a lot of tension here on my neck. And that is especially exaggerated when I go for long periods of time without the deeper conversations and deeper kind of connection with people. Just 1 or 2 weeks is enough to make me feel that feeling of isolation.
And where mindfulness comes in is that it makes you realize that, okay, this is your duration in which you need to maybe check yourself and the people around you, and that maybe it's time to fill your cup.
That's a very beautiful way to put it. Every time I feel that extended period of loneliness in the past without mindfulness, you would just go out there and distract yourself. But with mindfulness, you kind of stop those band-aid kind of solutions and you really pause and look inward, and that would invite me to maybe ring up an old-time friend or maybe have a long, sincere and deep conversation with my family member.
Can you tell me about the last time you felt lonely?
I took a gap year before university, and I think that was when I really felt the raw intensity of loneliness. My core group of friends, they went on to start their university journey. Some of them flew overseas, some of them found a new job. So I think we are kind of going through a different phase in life, and I constantly find myself out of sync. There's this desynchronization of lifestyles and schedules.
And life experiences.
Right.
So this was 1 year back. Was it easy for you to reach out?
Initially, it was hard. What if we meet and we have nothing to talk about? But little did I know, they also share the same feeling of loneliness because they have a lot of new friends, new colleagues, but they can't have that deep connection, that deep, meaningful conversations with those new people that they just meet.
You felt lonely, they felt lonely, nobody dared to reach out, and until you did, was that first step difficult for you?
As I start to adopt the mindfulness practices, 2 months in my gap year, that really helped me become aware of those limiting thoughts and beliefs. They are just illusions, that my friend is still there. I can still reach out to them. I can be vulnerable to them and say, hey, I really need to have a catch up. And I think I wouldn't have been able to do that if I'm not aware of my thoughts.
Mindfulness is really about being aware of your thoughts and emotions. Being honest about your feelings is a part of it because it can prompt reciprocal behavior in your friends and strengthen your emotional bonds. I met the author of this book, Simone Heng, earlier. She also believes in the power of reciprocity.
So I'm on chapter 11 of her book where she explains how helping others and being helped can make both parties feel more connected.
When we do good things for others, this is why we get a hit of feel-good hormones. The person receiving aid also gets a hit of feel-good hormones. That's why being of service is great to make you feel less lonely and more socially connected.
Research shows that most people are reluctant to ask for help. They underestimate the willingness of others to help and how that act of kindness can actually make the other party feel good. I want to get people to realize that it's okay to ask for help. So I've set up a booth here. Beyond the Label Fest is an annual event that aims to fight mental health stigma. Loneliness is not a mental health issue, but it is interlinked with depression and anxiety. You can feel lonely and become depressed or anxious, or you can be depressed or anxious and then feel lonely. I'm asking people to tell me about the last time they did a favor for a friend.
Quite a number of years ago, a friend named Pravita asked me to get tickets for her for Justin Bieber. And there was one of these radio station shows where if you do a video being like crazy and funny, they'll give us free tickets. And so I bought a costume just for her so that we could win the tickets.
She must be a really good friend.
She better be.
Probably last night when I hosted some girlfriends for like heart-to-heart talk. Some of us are experiencing some challenges in life. My friends do know my cut-off time for a bit, but I thought, it's been a while, why not? And we hung out till 3 a.m.
Tell me about the last time you did a favor for a friend.
My friend had his graduation ceremony and he needed somebody to pick up his parents to go to the ceremony itself. He approached me, he asked me and I said yes.
Do you think it was easy for him to ask you for help?
No, I don't think it was easy, but I know his parents, so I was really very happy to help.
You're very happy to help him.
Yes, correct, I was very
But if you needed a favor, is it easy for you to ask him for help?
That's a different story.
Is it easy for you to ask friends for help? Oh, I saw that expression.
No, I don't think really. I don't think so. Sometimes it's easier to say it to other people than do it yourself. But it comes with practice, bro.
Practice,
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I have a coffee voucher.
Okay.
It's coffee on us.
Okay.
For you and a friend.
Okay.
So I need you to call a friend that you've been meaning to catch up with.
Oh, let me tell who can I call now?
Okay, so you just need to ask them if they're free, right?
It has to be someone you really want to go out for coffee with. Can you call him?
Like now?
Yeah.
I don't even know if the person is free. Sure. Okay, I'll try.
I'm not sure she'll pick up.
I think she might still be sleeping.
Oh, so she declined your call, is it?
Yeah. Oh, call failed.
I'll take that as a no.
We didn't manage to meet this year at all. Hello? Chesna? Oh my god.
Okay, she's picked up now. Are you free for coffee next Wednesday evening? Is it sure?
Yeah. Hello? Yo, bro. Are you free next week? Wednesday night? Okay, he said yes.
I know you usually drink like bubble tea, but are you okay with Starbucks? Okay, let's go.
So before I let you go, okay, so you keep this, okay? Can you help me write? After speaking to so many young adults the last few months, I've realized that we're all the same. I'm the person my friends come to when they need help, but I'm also the person who finds it difficult to ask for help. It made me realize that I need to work on sitting or maybe laying with my uncomfortable feelings.
Gradually becoming aware of the sensations of the breath. You might notice experiences that feel unpleasant. How might it be like to offer kindness, compassion, understanding towards this experience?
Zen's invited me to a mindfulness class. It's the last session of an 8-week course called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, or MBSR. The course was developed by a molecular biologist in the late 1970s to help manage patient stress. A study on MBSR found that it reduced feelings of loneliness and altered inflammation markers in the body, which can lead to heart disease.
I'm curious, how was the experience for you earlier?
I think it's very hard to lie completely still for a very long time.
Even today, my mind still wanders. There is a lot of temptations, and so it's a good opportunity to practice beginner's mind. I feel like it's like a muscle that you need to keep exercising, like going to the gym.
Does it change how you interacted with the people around you?
Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was one mindful listening exercise where
one person had to speak for 4 minutes, and you just have to listen. I responded with my facial expressions, which the guy, he actually brought it up to the group chat. He said, his facial expressions help me to feel like I'm being listened to. Yeah, so I try to listen like this to my parents or my friends, and it's nice, even if they don't do it back.
Draw up goals, how I want to continue my practice for the next 5 years.
What is it about this course that actually helps alleviate loneliness?
Loneliness is an emotion that I feel lonely, and behind that there is a perception. Why do I feel lonely? Because I perceive that I'm alone. I'm not connected with people, so I feel alone. So with mindfulness practice, they might notice why they might feel alone, and also in a group setting like this, to build a sense of bonding and community support over time.
So you're saying that it's because it's group sharing, then people feel less alone in their experiences?
It could be because everyone gets to hear everyone's experiences, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant.
So how much of it to say that, okay, mindfulness, meditation practices can actually help alleviate loneliness versus actually maybe it could just be them forming a community?
Today is the last session, this will end, but what they're taking away with them after this course, it could be the sense of understanding of the human condition. That I might feel lonely, maybe because it's to do with the lifestyle that I have. Maybe the usage of social media, some side effects of social comparison, which might lead to feeling lonely, cut off, sense of how come other people's lives are better than me. So it allows them to see all this and support them in making decisions what kind of lifestyle they want to have.
Understanding how you feel is the first step to overcoming loneliness. Then you can perhaps consider reconnecting with a friend or doing things that could help you form new connections, such as joining an interest group. Loneliness can also make you feel less in control of your emotions. And experts say an exercise routine can help you with that. You would go to the gym to train, but you wouldn't expect to build muscle overnight. Building deep connections is the same.
Now, I don't think I'm chronically lonely, but there are definitely moments in my life where social support would have made things a lot easier to handle. I've realized that I need to practice articulating my needs and being more okay with being vulnerable with friends who are physically in the country. Hi! Would you have time to hang out next week?
What about Friday?
Okay.
See you then.